Hey, good evening. Welcome to the June 25th, 2018 Jurupa Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Roll call, please. Here.
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 Thank you. Mr. Brooks, will you please do the flag salute for us today? Thank you, Mr. Brooks. And Mrs. Chard, would you please start us out with an inspirational comment?
Okay. Thank you, President Garcia. This is an election year, and always makes us think a little bit about who's in office and whether we want to vote for them, how we want to consider what their job is, what they've done, what they've accomplished. And the last board meeting, we were given information, people's opinions, and on all year long actually, about the board and how we do things in the district, and some good, some bad. But I have a couple of things about leadership. In our district, for all the years, this district was formed the year I graduated from high school, and I've been out at almost 51 years. And in those 51 years, we've had only 6 superintendents in our district, which is a pretty good track record for most districts around, because every day you open the paper and somebody's getting a new board president, a new superintendent, a new president of a company or whatever. So perhaps we need to think a little bit about what it takes to be a leader, and how leadership forms what we do in our lives. I know a lot of people right now are, blasting the president, they're blasting senators and congressmen for what they don't do right or what they do right. So my first inspiration is a comment by Arnold H. Glasgow, who was a professor and an author, and he was an American. He passed away, he was born in 1905 and passed away in 1998. And he says, "A good leader takes a little more than his share of the blame and a little less than his share of the credit." Ultimately, leadership is not about glorious crowning acts. It's about keeping your team focused on a goal and motivated to do their best to achieve it, and especially when the stakes are high and the consequences really matter. It is about laying the groundwork for others' success and then standing back and letting them shine. That's what we do here as a board. That's what our superintendent, our cabinet, our teachers, all of the employees of this district, the parents, we want our children to be the focus. We want everything for them. And all we do is do our best, and we do it with leadership from several different angles. So think about it next time you're considering voting for someone, or wondering what they actually do. Maybe you need to find out a little more about what their job entitles. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chard. Reports from closed session. Mrs. Elsing, start with you.
Thank you. The board voted with a 4-0 vote in closed session to appoint Karina Becerro Murillo as the Director of Education Support Services. And I don't believe Karina was able to join tonight. Secondly, on August 21st, 2017, the board approved a notice to dismiss and statement of charges against a certificated employee number 138090. In March of 2018, a hearing was held before the Commission of Professional Competency, and on June 14th, 2018, the Commission issued a unanimous decision to move forward with termination of certificated employee number 138090. The decision of the Commission is also the decision of the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elsing, and congratulations to Ms. Murillo. I know she's not here, but please let her know that we're looking forward to all her success in the future.
We will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Ford.
Thank you. By a vote of 4-0, the board voted to approve the settlement agreement regarding OAH case number 2018-51172 in the special education dispute, resolving all issues in the dispute.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. On to item number 1, recognition. 1A, recognize 2018-2019 Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program. Mrs. Ford.
Sorry about that. Administration is pleased to announce that we have once again received the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program grant for 2018-19 school year. This grant will go to 4 elementary schools, Ina Arbuckle, Mission Bell, Rustic Lane, and West Riverside, for a total award of $11,553.30.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. 1B, recognize Project Heart, Healthy and Ready to Learn grant. Ms. Moreno.
Kaiser Foundation Hospitals recently notified the district that it has been awarded the Project Heart grant in the amount of $5,000. Funds will be used to support the district's commitment to school wellness and social emotional wellness. A copy of the grant award is included in the backup materials.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno. Item 2, board member comments. Well, we start with you, Mrs. Chard.
I'm happy that we, first I want to congratulate Mrs. Murillo, my former boss. I trained her well. No. She will do very well in this position, and I know she's been filling in for right now for a little while, and I know that's been her passion is to work in the special ed field, so she'll do a great job. I'm also happy about our grants that we've received. Those are so valuable. It not only helps us extend what we put out, but gives even more for the children, and that's what we need for the families. So I don't think I have anything else right now.
All right. Thank you,
I
Mrs.
spoke my
Chard.
piece earlier.
Mr. Mendez.
Also, congratulations to Ms. Murillo. I've known her for an awfully long time. She's been with the district quite a while, and in every single position that she's held, she has done an exceptional job, and so we look forward to her contributions in this new assignment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Ms. Ortega.
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate, these 2 recognitions for a healthier community, healthier schools. This past week, I attended Healthy Jurupa's 5th birthday celebration. I was invited to speak there, and it was really nice to see that initiative that I didn't know, that it was where, Jurupa Valley's the first city to start a healthy, like a healthy city initiative since its inception, since it started. So I think that was really nice to be part of that. And a lot of other individuals as a community are motivated to continue to, talk about health and wellness. Another event that we attended was the Rubra Chambers of Commerce installation and dinner. It was my first time. It was really nice, again, to see a lot of business owners and everybody from the community that makes up a community. It was really nice. We sat down with some individuals from the RCC, and the conversation would never stop until we actually had dinner. So it was really nice to see a lot of the individuals come again together for one evening to celebrate, and that's what I think Jose Campos had said, that we're here to celebrate. So it was my first time attending an event, so it was really nice event. And then in that same Healthy Jurupa celebration, I met one of the ladies from Kaiser, and we were also talking about the amazing work that Ina Arbuckle Elementary School is doing. So she was really happy to see us there. And that's it for now.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. And I just have a brief comment. I was able to go with Ms. Ortega to the chamber dinner this last Friday, and it was a great time. I got to sit with those folks and see all the business leaders in this community. And that's all I have for tonight. So moving on to number 3, public verbal comments. first one I have here is Graciela Larios.
This is so close up. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Graciela Larios, and I work with the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice. We are a 40-year nonprofit that is up on the hill right off of Camino Real and Mission Boulevard, and we work with the foundation that we believe that everybody has a right to breathe clean air, drink clean water, live on livable soil, even with the difference of the color of their skin or how much money they make. And they have the right to do that when they're living there, when they're playing there, when they're working there, and even when they're learning there. And that's why I come to you today, to the board members, because I come to bring light to a project that's being proposed to the city of Jurupa. And the reason I come to you is because of its proximity to Jurupa Valley High School. This project that I have right here, and I have information about this project with the notice of availability, which the draft EIR is now available to the public. If I can disperse this, should I? The draft EIR for this project is basically titled the Pilot Flying J Travel Center Project. Basically, it's a truck stop. It's a truck stop that is coming to you less than a mile away from Jurupa Valley High School. 0.7 to be exact, 0.7 miles away from Jurupa Valley High School. It's no secret that there is an industrial area of Jurupa Valley, and we understand that. And in fact, many would say that this project fits right where they're proposing it, which is cross streets, Mission Boulevard that turns into Van Buren and Etiwanda Avenue, and the other cross street is Riverside Drive and Etiwanda Avenue, not so far away from the high school. The problem with this project is that it's just another accumulation to what the students at Jurupa Valley High School have to deal with. We know that the students of Jurupa Valley High School are across the street from the rail yard of Union Pacific. We know that they're not that far away from the 60 freeway. And now a truck stop is just another accumulation to the impacts of these students, besides the residents that live around there. But I come to you in regarding to the students. I just wanted to shine light on this project to see if you would be concerned of it. If anything, we are in the 45-day process of public comment period. It did start June 7th. It is over on July 23rd. We are at the draft EIR part. If it comes of a concern to you, then I urge you to submit public comments to the city. Again, they're going through the process, so we understand that, and with the process, there will be a public hearing on this project, and I would be happy to let you all know when that is. And in fact, after I leave today, I would be happy to set up one-on-one appointments with all of you if you have any questions, any concerns that I've been hearing from the residents. But some of the concerns that I've been hearing is just another project so close to the students and to the community members there. We have heard the opposite side, where we have so many trucks in the city that this could be an amazing place where the trucks can park there and not be all over the city. Yes, that is true, and in fact, behind that description of the notice of availability, you'll see what this project has in store for us. What does it provide for truck drivers and for even us? But the problem is that it's also a magnet for more trucks coming into Jurupa Valley City, whereas before either they would pass us and now they will stop there. So I just urge you to look at it. If anything, you discuss it, you put in what you think about it. And again, I commit myself. If you have any questions or concerns, if I can answer them, I will. And I will leave my information, and also I will contact you after this meeting. And again, I'm a representative from the community members. I'm not speaking as Graciela Larios. I work with community members so close to this site. In fact, the community that I work with is less than a half a mile away from this site. So their burden is bigger. But now it's hitting the students, and that's where it really, really hurts, and that's where it's hurting them a lot. So thank you so much for your time, and again, it's a pleasure meeting you all.
Thank you, Ms. Larios.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Ronnie Lizarraga.
I've been a community member here for 25 years, and I'm kind of greatly disappointed for the things that have turned out in this district. There's classrooms that my children have been in even 14 years ago that are still in the exact same shape that they were in when my children were in the elementary school. The exact same classroom is still in the exact same shape with mold in the ceiling. My daughter was a substitute teacher working on her credential that she now has her master's degree, and she was doing her student teaching, and she's using the same textbook that she had in middle school 10 years ago, 3 administrations ago. Same textbook is being used in the schools here to teach history. Obviously, history has changed, but the same textbook is being used. Chromebooks aren't exactly keeping up to date. I have stories of the Chromebooks crashing when the teachers are trying to use them. Yet, you're talking about increasing salaries for people who don't have teaching credentials, or their classroom experience isn't what it should be. And I come from a family of educators, over 150 years of education. I've been a teacher myself. And I know how CEOs work. For a company to be successful, you need to make sure that the clientele is happy. You need to make sure that the workers are happy and successful in order for the product to be successful. So if those things aren't working properly, then why should the executive officers have a pay increase unless the system is working properly? So I'm not quite understanding how all of this is happening. And if you have somebody that's living in the area getting a $600 a month car credit, when I live here and I have 5 cars and I don't use that much a month for my 5 cars and I drive out of the area, it doesn't quite make sense to me. So I'm a little concerned because we have students and teachers who don't feel safe. You have equipment that is not right. Our district is not where it should be because it used to be really a shining star. I've been here 25 years. I've seen where it was and where it is now. Something's not right. And I've seen it better than it is now. So something needs to be done.
Ms. Lizarraga, if you'd like to leave us your number, we can check on those classrooms and the textbook issues you mentioned, and we can look into that for you.
Okay.
If you want to do that, we can look into it.
You can give my phone number. I'll give it to you right now. 951-907-9669.
All right? Thank you. There you go. All right. Next, we have Ms. Sylvia Olguin.
I never come up with paperwork, so this might be Greek to you. I looked at the agenda this weekend, and boy, was that an agenda. The supporting docs, a lot of them. So let's get right to it. The assistant soups make around $183.79 with the raise that you are going to allow them to get. They will be making around $1,093.720, approximately a 5.43% raise plus longevity and 4% for doctrine. I'm not saying that anyone that has gone out, that has spent the money to get their doctrine, doesn't earn it. The deputy superintendent is making $215,504. With her raise, she will be making $226,687, approximately a 5.2, plus her longevity. The superintendent is making $253,634. With his raise, he will be going up to $271,045 approximately, with a 7% raise, plus his longevity. They now want to amend contracts to get the .05 one-time monies on the salary schedule that the other employees are getting. Really? If they want that, how about they take the 2.5% everyone else is getting, then they can have the one-time 0.5%. They are already getting more than all other employees of this district. Car allowances for assistant soups doubling from $300 to $600 per month. Really? Who? I, like the lady before me, have many cars. Nowhere is that near. And I have been on this board for years. Why do they not do what we have to do? If we want money, we need to show receipts for it. There's nothing wrong with that. With this day and time, it should be happening. Car allowances for assistant soups that are doubling. Superintendent already gets $500, but he wants $600 per month. Where's the documentation in the supporting document showing the benchmark averages salary comparisons of the other districts? At what point in time were the districts compared? Why isn't that information here? Where is the transparency? They already have their averages. Tell them no to the one-time 0.5%. Tell them no to doubling of car allowances for assistant soup and the deputy. Give them a $100 increase. Tell superintendent no increase. You already get $500 per car allowance. Don't want to hear about how hard they work, so they deserve these increases. All the employees of this district, work hard, and we are not getting these increases. Please start asking the hard questions. Be good stewards to our district. Be fair to all the other employees of this district. You know you can just say no. Enough is enough. I have heard many board members say how they have the best certificated employees in this district, and many of them are. They do. I have also heard them say how they have the best classified employees of this district, and that again is true. We all work very, very hard. So if you feel that this administration is worth over a 5% increase, why do you feel that we are not? We are getting a 2.5% increase. That 0.5, which now administration wants to change the game. When they settled for being benchmarked, now they want to amend their contract to get that 0.5. Where is it going to stop, and when is fair fair?
Thank you, Ms. Holguin. Anyone else would like to address the board at this time? Okay, we'll move on. Yes, ma'am? Well, thank you for your comments. Okay, moving on. Item 4. Administrative reports and written communications. Mr. Duchamp.
Actually, I have one new one. The district was accepted by CSBA for, presentation at the annual conference. The presentation will be school readiness, 0 to 3, home visitation, and center-based parent and child interactive programs. As far as I know, we are the only district that provides early infant parent actually support to districts through, the parents through preschool and then above. We started that, it's the first year we had the LCAP, and we brought in a social worker as well as that was in the parent PICO, Parent Involvement and Community Outreach Program. Those were all started. I believe some of you were on the board at the time, but that was an innovative program. Actually, it's modeled after the nurse-parent partnership, which administration had done a fair amount of research into. So we're very pleased to present this at CSBA.
Thank you, and I think that's great. Looking forward to it. Okay, on to the action session. Item A, approve and adopt routine action items by consent.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote, please. You may have to refresh your screen. Okay. Motion passes 4-0. Item B, adopt 2018-2019 JUSD Local Control Accountability Plan. Ms. Moreno.
Thank you. We are now in the second year of the LCAP. This is a 3-year plan, and last year was the 17-18. So you'll see annual update for 17-18 in the plan, and then you'll in turn see the 2018-19 goals and actions for this coming year. Let's see if I can figure this out. Got it. This is just an overview template of the LCAP due to the fact that the plan is 112 pages at this point, with about the last 12 pages are instructions, just general instructions on how to put it together. So you'll find the very beginning pages reflect the plan summary. It goes into a budget summary. The annual update then is a reflection on the 17-18 data and planned actions and budgeted expenditures. So we look at what we did, and then we move forward. We do an analysis of what we've done through the annual update, and then we move forward into the goals and actions from forward. There's also a stakeholder engagement section that reviews the process we went into in engaging stakeholders in the process. The very last 12 pages of the plan are a demonstration of increased or improved services for unduplicated pupils. So it's pretty comprehensive. The state plan has some expectations of what needs to be included in it. Oops. The plan itself is continuously moving. I don't think we ever stop planning the LCAP. The plan is due to the county by July 1st, so this final meeting, once it's approved, staff will send it straight over to the county for final approval. We go through a fast pass process of review, so they've already reviewed and made some suggestions on changes that we might make to the plan. They have to respond back to us by August 15th, and then we're implementing and continuing to make changes probably tomorrow. No, we'll just continue to make that continuous improvement cycle. In November, we get the data dashboard data, so we review that, we take a look at the state data, and we make some determinations. of things that we might need to incorporate into the next rendition of the 3-year plan. Stakeholder engagement typically starts around the January mark, about halfway through implementation, so that we can get some good data and reflection on what we've done up to that point. February, March, it continues on into taking a look at the annual update, so we reflect back, we see what we've done, what we need to go forward with, and it just continues in that cycle of planning. Stakeholder engagement process is really an ongoing process. Even though we have our surveys, we did have a large increase in survey takers this year. We had about double the number of students. Our parent survey results were a little bit about the same as they were prior year, but our teacher surveys, it probably over doubled responses to that. We find that a lot of the open-ended parts of the survey are the most effective. It has most of the data that we really like to take a look at in the survey process. But we also we go through our DAC, our DLAC, we get through our school site councils, we go through our union, it's an ongoing sort of reflection process on what we're doing, and then getting feedback on that, and then we incorporate that in our planning as we go along through that circular process. Some of the results this year were more open-ended. The students, the parents and staff, there were some crossovers. College and career readiness, safety, social and emotional support, communication, more digital Chromebook support, behavior intervention. You'll see some crossovers between some of the responses for priorities, and we consider those within our planning. The LCAP must include goals, actions, and a budget. Those are basic requirements of it. And you also need to take a look at your major student groups. So you're looking at your ethnic groups, you look at your English learners, your students with disabilities, your foster youth, low-income students. So we look at all of the groups. They didn't put homeless there, but we also look at our homeless kids. You also have to address the 8 state priorities. It's required, and you'll see those integrated within the LCAP itself through student and engagement and achievement, as well as school climate, parent engagement, basic services, implementation of the standards, and access to the courses. Oops, it's touchy. Here are our overarching goals. Our goal 1 is college and career readiness. 2, safe, orderly, inviting environments. Goal 3, parent, student, and community outreach. So within these goals, you'll find all of our actions and addressing the priorities. So you'll see all 8 priorities are addressed within the goals. I'm not going to outline or go through everything within each of the goals. I'm going to sort of primarily take a look at some of the modifications. When you take a look at the actions within the 2018-19 piece, you'll see notations between each one. So if there are modifications we're making within each of those pieces, you'll see those notated in the plan itself. Right now under Goal 1, we're looking at continued integration and implementation of next generation science standards. We did a pilot on professional development on impact teams, which are really looking at formative assessment and collective inquiry. And we're fully expanding it into this coming year. We're redesigning our literacy program, so we're looking at push-in models so that we're a more inclusive model to make sure that that the program that we're providing is going to, with the universal design, will include support services in the classroom rather than pulling them out of the classroom. And Dave went over some of these things, I think, at the last meeting as well. building our MTSS framework, that's our multi-tiered systems of support and integration of inclusive practices with universal design and social emotional learning. So as we're building the framework, we're building those into the framework. These are just some pictures. I think Linda probably saw some of these from our District Advisory Council meetings. But these are, I typically like to put pictures in my presentations because they give me another sort of idea. It sort of shows you the movement we're making, you know, and some of the things that the kids are doing and a visual representation. So you can see some of those NGSS units implementation there the kids are doing, as well as some AVID strategies where they're doing note-taking in the classroom. So we have a lot going on with the programs that we're implementing right now in the school district. You'll see the First Steps program above for our little ones before they go into a Head Start preschool program, and then moving towards early literacy, and also our dual immersion program. Expansion, we have expansion with that as well. Also, I'm touchy. Okay. One more? More. Okay. Another part of Goal 1 is our new guidance coordinator counselor model that at the last meeting you approved the administrators who will be supporting the behavior element of the new counseling program that we're doing, as well as the additional counselor to support students in their journey to A to G completion, as well as the CTE pathway completion. So that's a new model we're implementing in under Roberta Pace's direction, and it's exciting to see that. We also included the secondary academic supports into the plan, our AAA and our Rivercrest Academy programs. They weren't in there in the past, so we wanted to make sure that it was clear that they're providing that additional support for our secondary kids. These are some pictures of the college and career readiness. Our kids are all, and I noticed it in the surveys a lot. It was really exciting to see the kids be excited about going to college or going into careers. That was a big strength that they indicated within the surveys. I am not touching it that many times. I'm going to take my clicker back. For Goal 2, we're really, this is the safe and orderly environment. This is where we have our facilities changes, all of the improvements that are going on, as well as the 21st century classroom needs. This is where we have our behavioral needs piece under MTSS, where we're looking at also support for the social and emotional supports under MTSS. So these are some of the pushes and changes we're showing as far as trauma-informed instruction and some of those things relative to that. These are some of the active projects that Trent has going on, as well as the opening of Del Sol coming up really soon. These are old pictures, Trent, I'm sorry. Get you new pictures. It's much further along than that, but these were pictures I had. We're also really looking at the social emotional learning piece in the plan. The schools have really stepped it up. I love it when I see the hashtag JagKind and the kids posting kindness pieces, how to be thankful, how to really sort of bring that social and emotional piece into the schools, and we're seeing it more and more, as well as youth court. That program continues to expand and receive awards for what they're doing. So we also, another piece of Goal 2 that we're expanding is the mental health support. We have mental health support now at every one of our schools, K-12. We sometimes, in some of the secondary sites, we have 2 mental health support interns. Thanks, Paul. these are just some, there's also the sports under this goal, and we have a lot going on with sports, and it's sort of the student outreach piece and the student engagement piece for our kids. So we provide support for all of our sports programs as well. So some of the resilience programs, common sense media lessons, these are all safe schools initiatives, walk to school day, our 100-mile club, our healthy living. All of these things are pieces of the LCAP and are continuing to expand. I think we're just getting better at some of them. We have time for implementation. There we go. Goal 3, some of the pieces you're going to see in the LCAP are the opening of the Parent Center to coordinate and integrate centralized registration, and that keeps changing and moving and expanding as well. Our communication enhancement through web-based options, our signage, our newsletters, the horizon, our new logo, and our vision, as well as parent engagement opportunities as we're moving forward with college and career pathway readiness. We're really pushing to integrate some of that into our language and into the services we're doing even for our parents. The computer classes expanded this year. I'm imagining Jose will continue that expansion. ABC Music and Me, Dad's University, his programs are all continuing to move forward. There. A communication website, Twitter, Facebook, the redesign of our logo, our pillars, all of the things we're doing to support that, the things that we're doing here in Jurupa. Oops. Okay, you get it. Okay, I get to do that. All right. Administration recommends the board adopt the 2018-19 JUSD Local Control Accountability Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chard, second by Mr. Mendez. Any questions or comments?
I have a question, Ms. Moreno. Did you happen to mention that the county has already provided you some feedback on this, some recommendations?
Right.
I just was curious as to what those recommendations were and if they were helpful.
Well, they did some commendation too. They felt that there were some areas that were really exemplary, but a lot of it is money based. Sometimes it's like, oh, you forgot the dollar sign. You know, you need to put the dollar sign.
Technical, very technical.
The formatting, sometimes it's little formatting pieces. The meat and potatoes of it, per se, not so much. They might give some rewording in some instances, but basically they were formatting issues.
And at this point, you don't anticipate that they'll have any further comments or suggestions? They pretty much
I hope
won't
not.
approve it as it is at this point, probably.
Yeah, I made all of the adjustments that they asked for and then resubmitted it to them. So they have the resubmission as well. So.
Thank you. Well, again, I'd like to commend you and your staff for the work that you did on this. And it's a continual process throughout the year. And so you're really outstanding in maintaining that process throughout the year so that when it comes time to put all this together, you've got all that background information and all of that, those steps that needed to be taken along the line.
And it really is all of the staff.
And
I know Elliot likes to call me the queen of LCAP and stuff, but really I listen and then I make.
But again, the sign of the leader to help others as a team to pull together and get the results that we do have. Yeah, I mentioned this as well before, that you do an outstanding job, both you and Paula, at presentations for DLAC and the DAC in terms of getting all of us to understand the whole process as we go through the meetings throughout the year. So we really appreciate all the work that you folks do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I agree. I'll agree with what he said.
Okay. Well, I agree too, Ms. Moreno, and great presentation. And I've gotten to see the LCAP over the last 4 years and the progress. And just a couple of quick things that stuck out for me. Stakeholder engagement, obviously we need that, whether it's teachers, parents, community members, staff. It's very important to make sure that we're doing the right thing for Jurupa. Also, building the framework is another thing that popped out at me. And we've seen a lot of progress, a lot of positive progress in the district over the last 4 years. Especially glad to see the MTSS, the multi-tiered systems of supports. And I guess that building the framework it's an ongoing thing. It's not like it's ever going to be finished. And it's going to, obviously, legislation changes, other things changes, the needs change in the district, whether it's technology or whatever. So, great job to you and the team on that. And finally, college and career readiness. I think just looking at the information you put here, the other stuff that we know that the team is doing a great job on, and I just want to thank you and the staff. Appreciate all the hard work. Okay. Okay. No other comments? We'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. On to item C. Review and adopt 2018-2019 general fund budget. Mrs. Ford.
Will change, I can tell you that. Oops, sorry, I didn't have that on. So the budget will change, but everything that you have in your documentation is based on the May revise. They are funding the LCFF full implementation, 100% funding. The Proposition 98 minimum funding guarantee for 18-19 is $78.4 billion, so that's how much of the state budget is going into Prop 98. The COLA is a 2.71% COLA with a 0.29 LCFF augmentation is what they're calling it. And there are one-time discretionary funds of $2.02 billion, which equates to $344 per ADA. Again, I can tell you that the one-time discretionary funds they're already earmarked to change, so those will go down by about half. And then the 2.71 will remain as the COLA, but there will probably be an additional augmentation to LCFF. And that's what we're looking at. Okay. So over time, Proposition 98 funding, you can see a steady climb, especially from 2013-14, which is when LCFF came into play and the new funding model was passed by the legislature. And since that time, it's continued to grow, and since that time, we've also been in a growing economy. So that has been good for LCFF. And but what is not in the budget, and I wanted to pass this on, and this is something I did talk about at the District Advisory Council, is that what's not in the budget is that we're continue to be 46th in the nation in per pupil funding, even with the LCFF being fully funded or full implementation. There's not additional funding that's provided for the PERS and the CalSTRS increases. So those funds have to come out of our LCFF funds. There was no increase for special education, which we know continues to grow, and the needs of our students in special education continue to grow, and those needs require resources, and also home to school transportation. So all of those areas are not in the 18-19 budget, but there's still a lot of talk about what we need to do to get us back to being in the top 10 or the top 5 of the nation. So if we look at LCFF, LCAP funding over the course of, since I said 2013-14, when it was first implemented, we are actually being funded at 100% 2 years earlier than we would have been if you look at the trend line. So we're really very, very excited about that and that's happened. So I don't want to discount that. We're glad that that happened. If we look at our student enrollment has continued to decline. We have projected enrollment of 18,950 students for the next school year. That does not include our NPS enrollment or County Office of Education enrollment. Our average daily attendance, as with a declining enrollment, we also have an average daily attendance decline. And as you know, the state overall is declining in enrollment. So there's many districts that are finding themselves in a declining situation. If you look at the multi-year projection, the MYP, there's certain assumptions that are built into that. So I wanted to just go over and highlight a few of those. So you can see in 18-19, our LCFF full implementation funding would be $198.1 million coming from LCFF. That's with the 2.71% COLA and the 0.29 augmentation. There's a COLA of 2.57 estimated in for 1920 and for 2021, I apologize. For 2021, there should be a 2.67% COLA. And you can see our average daily attendance, we're planning on that being basically a flat average daily attendance as well as flat enrollment for the 3 years. We have the one-time money of the $344 per ADA in the budget. And then you can see we also have the STRS and the PERS rates, and those are all included in the budget. So those are built into our out years as well, into the 1920 and the 2021 years. We also include our required 3% reserves and our 3% routine restricted maintenance account. And that is for us to be able to receive, when we receive the any bond funding from the state facilities bond program, we're required in that year that we receive any funding to have set aside 3% of our expenditures for routine restricted maintenance account. So we built that into our budget for all 3 years. We also, you'll see a line in the ending fund balance for the negotiations. So you'll see NEA Jurupa and CSEA salary and health and welfare increases, that 2.5% on schedule, the 0.5 one-time off schedule, and the health and welfare contribution. So you'll see that built into the ending fund balance when you look at the multi-year projection. Looking at our budget revenue for 2018-19, you can see, as I mentioned, $198 million coming from LCFF. So that's really the bulk of where our funding comes from. And then we also have some federal funds, other state funds, and the one-time funding is in that other state funds. So you'll see that $344 per ADA is what it makes that other state funds larger than normal, and then other local funds. And then looking at our expenditures, you'll see that the bulk of our expenditures are in salaries and health and welfare benefits, which include the CalSTRS and the CalPERS in those costs. And then looking at the adopted budget, this is just in millions, just basically goes through what you have in your, it's kind of a quick summary of what you have in your multi-year projection, which is that 3-page sheet. And so you can see that our projected ending fund balance for the 18-19 year is $24.3 million in our combined. And then if you want to, what is actually included in that ending fund balance are these components, which are that we have some stores. Basically, there's a non-spendable materials that we have. And then legally restricted is $3.1 million. We have, for economic uncertainties, that's our required 3% reserve, 7.2. We have assigned for 2018-19 negotiations of 7.1. Our unassigned, unappropriated is $3 million. And we also have other funds that we have assigned, like for health and welfare. That's our health and welfare pools. It's our donation accounts, it's our site funds that we allow them to carry over. So that is all included in the ending fund balances. Okay. Oh. Vitas, can you go back to that last slide? Please, thank you. The budget certification, so we are meeting our required 3% reserves in all 3 years. We also are meeting the required routine restricted maintenance account, 3%. And we're also meeting our LCFF minimum proportionality percentage. And that is that we're spending our supplemental and concentration funds. We're spending all of those on improved and increased services. And those are what you see, and you'll see that number in the LCAP. When you look at the LCAP summary, budget summary page, that number is included in there. You can see that's what we're spending on increased improved services. So we're meeting that requirement. And we have a positive certification. Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Oh, thank you.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Mr. Ortega. Any questions or comments?
Yes. Ms. Ford, going back to the unfunded liability, what impact does that have on our overall budget here in our district? Any encroachment, or to what degree?
So it's the unfunded liability, the cost to us, the increase in the PERS and STRS is about $2.7 million. So obviously when we get into that COLA-only environments, we're not going to have any augmentation, and we're just in a COLA-only for LCFF. The bulk of our funds are going to go for those increased costs in STRS and PERS.
And to some degree, that has been, I guess, what has helped us, I guess, this year and in years of the economic growth in the state has sort of not been as dramatic, I guess, an impact as it would if the economy begins to stagnate or even, go into a recession. Then we would be stuck with those same rising costs and yet continue to receive maybe possibly potentially less funding from the state.
Right, and because we were getting gap funding, we were getting that additional fund on top of, really COLA was non-existent because it was all kind of built into that gap funding, so we were always getting that augmented funding. And because of that, we didn't really see we didn't feel that pressure as much. But as we go into COLA only, that pressure will be felt.
Wow. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. Ford. And I had the same concern, Mr. Mendez, and looking at this year, the CalPERS and STRS increase is 18% and 23% out in 2021. That's 30% increase. That's huge. So, but I appreciate the presentation. I know there's a lot of changes that happened. It's moving target, like we talked about with the LCAP. And thank you for all the hard work, you and your team.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
just one final comment on this topic. Once again, congratulations to you and the staff for attaining that positive certification on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. I couldn't do it without Mrs. Benson back there, who's being very quiet and nonchalant, but she's been working very hard to make sure that the budget came in and we have a positive certification.
Great job. Thank you. If there are no further questions, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. 4-0, I'm sorry. Item D, review and adopt 2018, 2019 budgets for special funds. Mrs. Ford.
So in addition to the general fund, which was the budget that we just did an overview on, the district operates 10 other funds, and these budgets have been included in your supporting documents. The summary review required by the state for these funds are also included in your supporting documents. Administration recommends the board adopt the 2018-19 special fund budgets.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Ortega, second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. Item E, approve site comprehensive safety plans. Mrs. Ford.
Each year, the school site safety committees review and revise their school site comprehensive safety plan. These are plans that are pursuant to Ed Code 35294 and Board Policy 0450. The components of the plan are in compliance with the requirements of Ed Code, and you'll see a lot in the plans, and that is because all of that is a compliance document per Ed Code. So copies of each of the site safety plans is included in your backup materials. I'm sorry, that was again a lot of materials for you to review. But administration recommends the board approve the site comprehensive safety plans.
So move.
Motion by Mrs. Chard,
Second?
second by Mr. Mendez. Any questions or comments?
Yes, I have a comment. I just would like to extend our appreciation to the agencies that assist us in providing a safe learning environment for our students and our schools and our staff, really, all of us in the district. I know that the Sheriff's Department's involved, the Fire Department probably, the paramedic, and many other agencies, and without their help, I mean, they're always there, and there's always constant communication and actually opportunities for get together, continue to review on a rather frequent basis, how we are looking in this area, and always making sure that we have the best that we can possibly have with what's available at the time. So thank you.
I just want to agree with that, Mrs. Ford, and those were huge documents. I think I had to download them just to view them, but I appreciate all the work from all the schools and all the team. I'm in charge of compliance in my own job, so I can see that they're all a little different, but they all have a lot of detail, especially some of the latest trends in safety. So appreciate all the work. Thank you. Okay, let's call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. Item F, approve submittal of summer 2018 release of consolidated application. Ms. Moreno.
There are two windows for certification for the consolidated application. This is the summer window. This window is where we indicate that we will meet all of the state and federal requirements under the federal pieces of legislation we're asking for funding for Title I, Title II, Title III, and now Title IV, which is a brand new program. Within the certification, they also ask for indicators that we will protect prayer, that we will be completing an LCAP federal addendum, which I'll be taking to all of you in August, as well as any funding proposals under Title III that they require. So we complete that. It's a draft right now. I'll certify it after approval. Administration recommends that the board approve submittal of summer 2018 release of the consolidated application.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Chard, second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. 4-0. Sorry. Thank you, Mrs. Chard. Keep me straight here. Item G. Review and approve 2018-2019 single plans for student achievement with alignment to local control accountability plan. Ms. Moreno.
I think this was another part of the huge documentation that you received, were the school plans. Schools receiving state and federal funds must do a single plan for student achievement. And it must also be aligned with the funding sources that we receive as well as the funding that we give out to the schools. Part of this is all of our schools have to submit a plan, and they have to be updated annually. They have to reflect the actions and strategies that impact student achievement and are aligned to our LCAP. All of the school plans are using a web-based portal document. We meet with them on a monthly basis as well. And the SIPSs have been approved by their leadership teams and their school site councils and are posted on the district's website. Copies of the SIPSs are also included in the backup materials. Administration recommends that the board approve the school level single plans for student achievement for the 2018-19 school year.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Ortega,
Second?
second by Mr. Mendez. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Moreno, these are important documents to guide the instruction at the school sites. And of course, they have to be obviously aligned with the LCAP as a district document and everything that's contained in there. My question is twofold. What support do you and your staff provide the leadership of the school as well and staff in the development of these plans?
I have monthly meetings with the staff on school planning, budget development, data analysis, to support them when they're developing their plans. So as the data dashboard data comes out, I'll review it with them. We'll take it apart. We'll do a lot of that. In addition, it's in a doc tracking. It's in an online system. So I can actually have anyone come in and look at it. We can review it as a team and look to see and give feedback to them as well on maybe adding this portion or maybe look at this section. As well as when we developed the format for the portal, we developed it to align with the LCAP. So they have the same goals.
Got it. And then the final question, who does the final look over prior to them bringing it before the board?
Really, it's a team of us. We do a program budget meeting where they have to do an analysis and evaluation of each of the goals within the LCAP. So, and they do, not only do they have to do that analysis of those, but then they bring their suggestions or what they would like to do to the team reviewing it. And at that point in time, we'll talk to them about what they want to implement. And if it's something that we as a group feel is a good direction, then they move forward then at that point in time. So really, it's sort of like the LCAP in a way, but it's a sort of a site level LCAP. And so it has that sort of circular motion. So it's ongoing review, change, implementation, and then until it comes here for approval. Then they'll start again, just like we will with the LCAP.
If I may, I'd like to amplify on that a little bit, because those are quite formal meetings and there is much development as accountability. So each principal every year meets with the entire cabinet or representatives of the cabinet. So for example, if Mrs. Ford can't come, Mrs. Benson might, or if Mrs. Elza can't, Mr. Brooks might, but there's always somebody from personnel and the entire Ed Services Department and myself. At that time, they bring their budget, they bring their goals, and they bring their past year benchmarks with testing, what they're doing at the site for elementary schools. They go over their DIBELs. It's extremely thorough, And then they're told in advance. For example, this year, a big impetus was put into mental health services. So principals were asked before they came to that meeting to make sure they had mental health issues addressed in that meeting. And they go through that step by step. And I might say it sounds like just a meeting, but I think it is, for most principals, they would probably say it's more rigorous than their evaluations, because this is truly the evaluation of their site, how well they're doing, whether they're meeting goals, what tools they're using, how they're spending their money, and ultimately how they're managing their site. So it's about as comprehensive as it could get. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments?
They also have to, they include the input from their parent committees too, and the parent surveys and all of that, as to whether it pertains to their site or not.
Thank you. They have their school site councils. We also have, as you know, an online survey. We do a student survey every year. We do a parent survey. So we have lots of data that informs each school site as well as district-wide. And as Ms. Marino said, we also have the district-wide LCAP meetings and the district DUAC and EUAC. So each of those sets of input go back to each site for their goals.
And I also disaggregate all of those survey data pieces, and I send them to, so they get the disaggregated data of their own.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno. Sounds like a theme of stakeholder engagement. So, all right, no other questions? We'll call for the vote, please. Denise, we have another. Okay, there we go. Motion passes 4-0. All right, let's see here. On to item H. Adopt resolution number 2018/67. Authorize the expenditures of the Education Protection Account, EPA, entitlement for 2018-2019. Mrs. Ford.
Thank you. We bring this to you each year as part of Prop 30 and Prop 55 tax initiatives approved by the voters. Districts receiving funds through the Education Protection Account are required by board approval to ensure that these funds are spent appropriately. As part of that, the funds are, I just want to mention the funds are not additional funds. These are all part of kind of the LCFF, that $198 million that we receive. But we do need to give you an estimate of what those funds will be, and our estimate is $23,264,163 for the 2018-19 school year, and the received funds are designated for instructional salaries. So administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/67, authorize expenditures of the Education Protection Account entitlement for 2018/2019.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mendez, second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, call for the vote, please. Motion passes 5-0. Item I, adopt resolution number 2018/68, resolution of intention of the Board of Education of the Rupee Unified School District to annex certain additional territory into Community Facilities District Number 16 and authorizing the levy of a special tax within the area to be annexed. Mrs. Ford.
As the board may recall, CFD 16 is the CFD that allows us to annex smaller developments into one CFD. So this could be smaller developments all throughout the district, so it doesn't have to be in a certain area, certain boundary. It just can be within the boundaries of the district. And it allows us to annex those. And as an initial step in the annexation process, the board is to adopt a resolution stating its intention to annex this territory into the CFD and levy a special tax. We have had a development come forward. It's on Jurupa Road here, 25 units, 25 homes that will be between Tyrolite and Pyrite north of Jurupa Road. And so the rate of such special taxes will be set each year based on the formulas that were approved in the rate and method of apportionment of special taxes for CFD 16. And this resolution sets the date of a public hearing with respect to the annexation, directs the clerk of the board to publish a related notice of such hearing, and prescribes the voting procedure for an election on the annexation. Copies of the resolution and the boundary map have been included in your backup materials. So at this time, administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/68, resolution of intention of the Board of Education to annex certain additional territory into Community Facilities District number 16 and to authorize the levy of a special tax within the area to be annexed.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ortega,
Second.
second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Ms. Ford, I was just wondering, what impact will this have on the overall CFD and the way it will be used in the future or in the near future?
So in this particular case, we have, since we're the lead agency on the CFD, we have the ability to decide when to issue, if to issue bonds. So and with this being such a small number of units, it really won't have an impact on facilities, so there won't be an immediate need for any new facilities for this particular situation, or this particular development. So we will just hold. We'll go ahead and annex this in. We'll allow other smaller developments, and there are other ones that are already, talking about in different areas of the district. So we'll allow those smaller developments to come in, annex into the CFD, and when we have enough of a development, enough developers in the CFD, and it's financially responsible to move forward with issuing bonds, at that time, then we would issue bonds. But it really gives us the ability to issue when we're ready and when it's financially feasible for the district to do so.
So it provides flexibility and allows us to include in other smaller portions of that may be included into the district in the future.
Absolutely. Whereas they would, if we didn't do this, we would, as they pulled permits, we would receive less developer fee funds. This way we'll actually receive more developer fee funds, but we won't necessarily receive them when they pull permits. We'll receive them when we get ready to issue bonds. So we're just kind of delaying receiving the money, but at the same time, when we do receive it, we're going to receive more, and we'll be able to actually do a project with those funds.
So it makes sense then to take advantage of this opportunity then.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 4-0. Item J, adopt resolution number 2018/69, resolution of the Board of Education of the Rupee Unified School District authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $7 million aggregate principal amount of Rupee Unified School District Community Facilities District number 17 special tax bonds 2018 Series A, prescribing the terms thereof, approving various financing documents, and providing for other matters related thereto. Mrs. Ford.
So administration has worked with the district's finance team to prepare documentation allowing the district to issue on behalf of Community Facilities District Number 17 a series of special tax bonds. The CFD number 17 bonds will be issued under the Melrose Community Facilities Act of 1982, and the district's facility proceeds of the not to exceed of $7 million issuance is approximately $1.4 million to be used toward improving and equipping schools within the boundary area of that CFD. And then this particular CFD is the Harvest Village 3, which is the Lennar homes that are slowly making their way up toward Vernola Park on Wineville. Proceeds to the Jurupa Community Services District are estimated at $1.2 million, and $1.8 million is estimated to go to the Park District. All facility funds will benefit those residents of CFD 17. The bond proceeds will also fund a reserve account and pay costs that are associated with the issuance and delivery of the bonds. The true interest cost of the CFD 17 bonds is estimated to be 4.35%. The finance charge in connection with the sale of the bonds is estimated to be $276,000, and the total of all payments of the CFD to final maturity are expected to be $10 million. This resolution also approves the form of 4 additional documents. There's a fiscal agent agreement between the district and Zion's Bank, a bond purchase agreement between the district and the underwriter, which is Stiefel, and a preliminary official statement with an attached continuing disclosure agreement, which is the disclosure document used in the underwriter when marketing the CFD 17 bonds. So at this time, administration recommends the board adopt resolution number 2018/69, resolution of the Board of Education, the Rupee Unified School District, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $7 million in aggregate principal amount of Rupee Unified School District Community Facilities District Number 17 Special Tax Bonds 2018 Series A, prescribing the terms thereof, approving various financing documents, and providing for other matters related thereto.
Thank
So
you,
moved.
Ms. Ford. Motion by Mr. Mendez. Second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments on this one? No. Thank you. Let's call for the vote, please. Motion passes 4-0. Item K, adopt resolution number 2018/70, resolution of the Board of Education of the Rupee Unified School District, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $6,385,000 aggregate principal amount of Rupee Unified School District Community Facilities District Number 11, Improvement Area B, Special Tax Bonds 2018 Series B, prescribing the terms thereof, approving various financing documents, and providing for other matters related thereto. Mrs. Ford.
And this is very similar to what we just went through with CFD 17. I will tell you that this is approximately $1.5 million that would be used towards improving and equipping schools, so that will be our estimated funding from this. Also, proceeds to the Jurupa Community Services District are estimated at $673,000, and $2.5 million is estimated to go to the Park District. All facility funds will benefit the residents of CFD 11, and this is the Pulte Homes, which is off of Etowanda, and so it would be west of Etowanda and north of Belgrave.
Move to approve,
And
or do you want to say a little more?
that's okay. You can go ahead and.
Motion by Ms. Chard,
There's a lot there.
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? Okay, let's call for the vote, please. Motion passes 4-0. Item L, approve personnel matters. First one, L1, approve revised salary schedule for certificated management, classified management, and confidential employees. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. Salary schedules for certificated management, classified management, and confidential employees are being revised to reflect the 2.5% salary increase for the 2018-19 school year. The management schedules and the confidential schedule and the backup materials reflect that 2.5% increase. In addition, Cabinet's proposed salary is also included on one of these schedules. Administration recommends the board approve the revised certificated management salary schedule, classified management salary schedule, and confidential salary schedule, which reflect the 2.5% increase in that 2018-19 school year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Chard,
Second,
second by Mr. Mendez. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment, Mr. President. I know that to many citizens and many people in the community, it may look like a substantial amount of money for our management team. Let me tell you, though, they are among the best. And I tell you, I've gone through a lot of districts. I know a lot of other places that do not have the smooth functioning district that we have here. And they're not hourly employees. So if you were to pay them by the hour number of hours that they put in on weekends, sometimes at night, I mean, they're basically available 24 hours a day to 365 days a year. In addition to that, they shoulder a tremendous amount of responsibility for managing the district, both in all of its resources, employees, financially, and it's a tremendous job. And they need to be well compensated for that. And it looks like an awful lot of money, but it's money that is earned, and it's money that that's well invested in our district to continue the programs that we have, the quality of education that we offer our students. And so, and there's many other variables. I think one of our management team didn't have a raise a year or two ago, and so they were bypassed. There's just so many other variables that go into determining, and so these factors are weighed very carefully. And yes, you may disagree with me. You can disagree all you want with me, but you will never convince me otherwise. I've seen their work. I've seen other districts. I've seen the work out of other people in other places. Guess what? They deserve this raise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Any other questions or comments? Nope. And I just have to say I agree with Mr. Mendez. And I mean, it's like a large corporation here. And I just want to say, I mean, I agree with everything Mr. Mendez said. And I think we saw tonight when we look at the LCAP and the budget, I think it's a small piece of what makes this district run and run well. And, you know, the improvement over at least the past 4 years that I've been here. So I've seen a lot of improvement, and I think that we have a great team sitting up here and sitting out in the audience and overall in the district. So that's all I have to say on that one. Mrs. Chard.
I know as a secretary, there's a lot of paperwork that goes into this and a lot of calculating. And we could call at any time, even as board members now, we can call any of these people at any time and ask them a question. And it's amazing that they have the answer right off the top of their head, or they have it right there. They know what they're doing. They know their job. They know the ins and outs of it. I can't imagine how they have so much in their mind and can think they're like walking computers. But if you were to ask them any detailed question, they would probably be able to answer you right to the penny as to how much you spend on items. And that's something that has come up a lot of times where people don't believe that our district is, that we're not doing the money right, we're not taking care of the teachers or the students or whatever. But we're not the only ones that watch over them. There are other people that make sure they have the right figures, or they wouldn't be sitting in that position. And you wouldn't have a job out there, you wouldn't have teachers, you wouldn't have any of the things that we have. We really need to, when we think about salaries, we need to think about all the things that they do. And you can't compare them to another district. You can't say that a assistant superintendent of personnel in another district is going to be making more money or less money than ours or our superintendent or any of our administrators, because we don't have two pieces of paper, ours and theirs, to compare by. And that's one thing that you really have to have. You've got to go step by step, because there's a lot of things that are not put out in public Our superintendent's contract is online. Find another one online. Go look, see if you can find it. Nobody else will put theirs out. So how can you compare salaries to all of these salaries unless you've got something else to compare? You're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to say, well, this store says this and this store says that. I'm going to buy the cheaper one. Yeah, you could go that way, but you're not getting your money's worth. And we're getting our money's worth with these people. We're not overpaying them. They are earning every penny we pay them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chard. Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 4-0. L2, approve addendum to the employment agreement of the superintendent. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. The 7th contract addendum for the superintendent is included in the backup materials. The addendum extends the superintendent's contract to June 30th, 2022. The superintendent's salary for the 2018-19 school year will be set at the average of the superintendent's salaries in our benchmark districts. We have calculated that average, and it will be, the salary for the 18-19 school year will be $271,045. The superintendent will receive an ongoing increase to health and welfare contribution consistent with other employees in the district at an allowance of $10,745. The addendum also increases the car allowance for the superintendent to $600 a month and allows the superintendent to receive any one-time off-schedule payment received by others employees of the district. Administration recommends the board approve the addendum to the employment agreement of our superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Mrs. Chard. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Our superintendent is well known throughout the state, throughout the county, throughout the nation because of the job he does here. He has been recognized by state and national organizations. He brings much to this district. He hires quality people in this district. He maintains solvency in this district by oversight of the budget. He is involved in so many local community organizations and supports so many of them. I cannot tell you how this man can find time for any personal life of his. I've seen him at so many events, as many of us here, on weekends, in evenings, early mornings, you name it. We have one of the best superintendents we could have. And we're very privileged to have had him lead this district over these last many years. And I am happy to recommend approval of his contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Any other questions or no comments?
I'll say ditto.
Mr. Ortega? Yeah, I agree with everything Mr. Mendez said. I just wanted to add that it's true. Being part of the delegate assembly or just going up to the California school boards, people know Mr. Duchan, and they know that he does a great job. And I'm also involved with the other school districts around the area. We meet regularly, and so our district is well regarded. I was at the delegate assembly this last February. I don't remember, March, April, May, and everybody's talking about Jurupa. You name it, whether it's the Innovation Center, and it's always Mr. Duchan comes up. So he got the AXA Superintendent of the Year this year. There are so many things that Mr. Duchan does throughout the district for the community that probably most of you in this room don't even know about, and he doesn't hoot and holler about it. He does it because he really cares about people, cares about our people here in Jurupa and in Southern California. So that's all I have to say. Anything else? Okay, well, let's call for the vote then. Motion passes 3-0 with one abstention. 301. Okay, on to item L3. Approve addendum to the employment agreement of Deputy Superintendent. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. The 8th addendum to the employment agreement of the Deputy Superintendent is included in the backup materials. The Deputy Superintendent's salary for the 2018 school year will be set at the average of Deputy Superintendent salaries in our benchmark districts. That salary, the average of those districts, and so the salary for Deputy Superintendent for the 18-19 school year will be $226,687. The Deputy Superintendent will receive an ongoing increase to health and welfare contribution consistent with other employees in the district at an allowance of $10,745. The addendum also increases the car allowance for the Deputy Superintendent to $600 a month and allows the Deputy Superintendent to receive any one-time off-schedule payment received by other employees of the district. Administration recommends the board approve the addendum to the employment agreement of the Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments?
No.
I'll go first this time. The deputy superintendent is one person that may seem like that she's here all the time, but actually she does go to the sites. I know what it costs to fill my car just when I run around, do 100 miles, and it costs me $50. So I don't think that the extra money for the car allowance, I don't think the money for the medical is a problem, because she has a family just like I do, just like any of us do, and that still has to come out of somebody's pocket to pay for that, even if it doesn't complete it all, if it doesn't pay for the whole thing. They're entitled to the same benefits that any of us are that work in the district, and that goes for any of the assistant superintendents that we have, any administrators that we have. Everyone's entitled to all of that, whether they make $100 a day or $1,000 a day. It doesn't really matter. They're still entitled to those things, and if they do their job, I feel they need to be compensated. And that's one thing that, you know, the unions don't exactly do. They don't compensate those people for their individual actions. The unions do it as a group, or and they don't have unions, so they have to work for their own. They have to show what they can do, not do it through have someone like the union standing behind them. So I have no problem with the salaries that they're asking for.
Thank you, Mrs. Chard. Anybody else? Okay. No, I just want to say, Ms. Elzig, you've done a great job, and I look forward to the future here. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Call for the vote, please. Okay, motion passes 301. Okay, item L4. Approve addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. The 5th addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent is included in the supporting documents. The addendum extends the Assistant Superintendent's contract to June 30th, and I see a typo here, it should say 2022. The Assistant Superintendent's salary for the 18-19 school year will be set at the average of Assistant Superintendent salaries in our benchmark districts. We have calculated that average, and for the 18-19 school year, the salary will be set at $193,720. The Assistant Superintendent will receive an ongoing increase to the health and welfare contribution consistent with other employees in the district at $10,745. The addendum will also increases the car allowance for the Assistant Superintendent to $600 a month and allows the Assistant Superintendent to receive any one-time off-schedule payment received by other employees of the district. The addendum includes a provision for the payment of dues for the Southern California business executives. Administration recommends the board approve the addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services.
Thank you, Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Mr. Chard. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. President, I didn't make a comment on Ms. Elzig's contract, but really it applies to the entire members of the cabinet. And again, we have an outstanding team. The information they provide the board, it's very helpful and very valuable for us to make decisions. And they're also available anytime we have questions or concerns. And we can call them anytime, day or night, and they will respond, get back to us. And the job they do in their positions, their respective assignments, again, it merits their compensation that's being proposed. So I vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. And I'll second that. Ms. Ford, you've done a great job, and we look forward to your continued service here at Jurupa. Thank you for everything. Any other questions, comments? Okay, let's call for the vote, please. Motion passes 301. On to L5. Approve addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. The eighth addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services is included in the backup materials. The addendum extends the Assistant Superintendent's contract to June 30th, same typo, 2022. Assistant Superintendent's salary for the 18-19 school year would be set at the average of the Assistant Superintendent salaries in our benchmark districts. As I mentioned in the previous item, we have calculated that average, and for the 18-19 school year, it will be $193,720. The Assistant Superintendent will receive an ongoing increase to health and welfare consistent with the other employees in the district. That allowance will be $10,745. The addendum also increases car allowances for the Assistant Superintendent to $600 a month and allows the Assistant Superintendent to receive any one-time off-schedule payment received by other employees in the district. Administration recommends the board approve the addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Education Services.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mrs. Elzig. Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Ms. Ortega. Any questions or comments? I just want to say congratulations, Mr. Dabrowski. I think he's done a great job, and I know our curriculum's we've got some big improvements there. And also parent involvement, community outreach, I think speaks for itself. So thank you, Mr. Dabrowski, for that.
I agree. He's done a great job, and when he has to bear the brunt of the instructional aspect of our district, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes that he has to do, and he is always there and willing to answer any questions from any parent on the spot if he could. He doesn't let anyone walk out of here if they have not at least left his number for him to check things out. And the board's the same way. If we have to have a question for him, he's right there, or he'll get the answer for us as soon as he can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chard. Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 301. Item L5, approve addendum to the employment agreement of Assistant Superintendent of Planning and Development Services. Mrs. Elzig.
Thank you. The fourth addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent is included in the supporting documents. The addendum extends the Assistant Superintendent's contract to June 30th, 2022. Assistant Superintendent's salary for the 18-19 school year will be set at the average of the Assistant Superintendent salaries in our benchmark districts. That average, as I've mentioned, has been calculated already, and for the 18-19 school year, it will be $193,720. The assistant superintendent will receive an ongoing increase to health and welfare that's consistent with the other employees in our district. That contribution will be $10,745. The addendum also increases the car allowance for the assistant superintendent to $600 a month and allows the assistant superintendent to receive any one-time off-schedule payment received by other employees of the district. And this addendum includes a provision for the payment of dues for the American Association of Schools Administrators. Administration recommends the board approve the addendum to the employment agreement of the Assistant Superintendent of Planning and Development.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Mendez,
Second.
second by Mrs. Chard. Thank you, Ms. Hilzig.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
I'd like to
Ms.
comment.
Chard.
Dr. Hansen has done a wonderful job in his position. He started out, I'm assuming, I didn't know him before as a teacher, I knew him as a principal, and so he has the background that he needs to be right where he is. So do all the other cabinet members, but he does have he's also a parent, so he has a feeling for what he needs to know that the schools need. And when I ran for the board, that was one of the things that I was going to push for, was to get our schools brought up to par, because they're not. He's got so many jobs going at one time. I don't know how the man can function and remember where he lives or what his name is. And of all the people, he probably needs even more money for mileage, because he goes to every site, and with all the sites that we have, he's out there all the time. And I know that he's here late hours just like the rest of them doing the job. We're not paying them extra for that. They're just getting a salary. So thank you, Dr. Hansen, for everything that you've done so far, and look forward to seeing you around to finish the big job.
Thank you, Ms. Chard. Anybody else? I'd just like to say, Dr. Hansen, I think you've done a great job. I know you're addressing all the issues at all the school sites, and we've got a lot of things going on right now. A lot of building the framework. Again, there's a lot of things going on, and I like how you really plan well. I mean, I think we might have had an additive change order tonight, but I think most of the time you come in here with deductive change orders, and so I think you've done a great job there, and looking forward to all the remodernizations, the STEM school that'll open up soon. So great job. Looking forward to the future. Thank you. Okay, we'll call for the vote, please. Motion passes 3-0-1. Okay, on to item M, board member committee reports and comments. Ms. Ortega, let's start with you. Sorry.
I have no committee reports, but I did want to comment on my previous votes, that it has been one of the most challenging votes I've had to make thus far, and it's not to contradict what my board colleagues have said or the work that cabinet has done or our superintendent. It's just, like I've said before, I didn't feel 100% with saying yes or no. I didn't do my homework, and I think as a school board member, I need to, say up front that I didn't do my homework, and I didn't feel comfortable 100% to vote yes or no. But again, it's not, and I hope cabinet and Elliot Duchan don't take it personal. I just, I have full confidence, and again, I will mention I am a product of this district, and I respect and I applaud your leadership. But again, I turn it back to me, my full responsibility for not really understanding what these votes and how it entails. But again, I'm proud of our district, of the work that each cabinet member has made, and I look forward to serving this community and this school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ortega. Mr. Mendez.
No further comments, Mr. President. I've made enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Chard.
I don't have any other comments, but I would like to thank our colleague for being honest and telling her reason, and that's something that takes a lot of guts to say that if you're not sure and you haven't been able to study the situation and you don't want to vote on it, that's fine. I wish everyone a nice summer. And I'll see you back in July.
Thank you, Ms. Chard. And I want to reiterate that too, Mr. Ortega, for having that courage to say what you said. I think it really demonstrates your commitment and your character. So, we know we appreciate everyone here. We appreciate you on the board. As you said, you're a product of this district, and you helped to give us a lot of insight, especially with a lot of the parent involvement, community outreach programs. And other than that, I don't have anything else to say. Great job, everyone, and have a great couple of weeks, whatever summer is going to be. And we'll see you back next month. Meeting adjourned. Mr. Jushan, any final comments? Sorry. I was going to make sure. You might have something to say here.
Actually, I do. I want to thank the board for the approval of the management salary schedule, all of them, and for your votes on the contracts of cabinet. I want to speak mostly about my cabinet members who served steadfastly and have for years, and point out that actually, aside from Mr. Bynum sitting in the back of the room, every manager in this district has been hired on my watch, and I think their actions speak for themselves. But to be redundant, I will say that I think we have the most outstanding managers of every district that I'm aware of in the state, if not more. Every cabinet member is fully capable of assuming the superintendency if they had to on a moment's notice, and they have staff that could follow, I believe, in succession. I know they all love the district, and so do I. We also all know we have detractors in the district, and whether they believe it or not, we listen very closely. We research their criticism and look for truth and seek out truth, and are willing to answer personally any questions that are brought before us and invite them to do so. I, and I know Cabinet, will consider to serve this district because in our hearts we love the children and the adults in this district, and I think each of us see it as an area of service. We thank you for the compensation, and I think that's all I want to say is thank you for serving with us and providing a governance team.
Thank you, Mr. Jushan, and thanks to everyone for coming, and we'll see you next time. Meeting adjourned.